We've heard you, we see you, we feel you, and we're hopefully here to help. The women who watch this show are asking a specific question, and that question is, how do I lead my family? How do I lead my family? Perhaps you're entering, I don't know, a new chapter of parenting and you want to get it right. You're looking for ways to connect and unite your kids and your grandkids in ways that last, making you a matriarch. All week we're exploring the makings of a matriarch. What does she do? What does she believe? What does she hope for? My next guest is someone with a family vision. She's mom to 3 and grandma to 13, former first counselor in the Young Women General Presidency for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Michelle Craig believes that matriarchs are the bridge between generations, and you are the perfect voice, heart, and light to contribute to this topic. Thank you for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm not an expert, but it's something that I feel really passionate about.
And I know that passion has led you to say and testify and lead in many ways. I've loved learning from you in your role through the Young Women General Presidency, but also I love learning from you on Instagram, Michelle. You share these little tidbits and these inklings. You shared something about a year ago that I think about quite often, and I share this belief as well, that boring evenings at home can be holy places.
Yes.
I loved when you said that and put it out there. And today we get to learn from you in equally inspiring ways, so thank you. Thank you for being here. So let's start with what I just said in that introduction. You believe matriarchs are the bridges of generations. Explain that idea a little more.
You know, I think that those of us that find ourselves in this role, and when you asked about the role of matriarch, I thought, oh my goodness, I never considered myself a matriarch.
It's not a word we say.
No, it's a big word and it sounds old, but I guess I am older, but I think that we have more, many of us have parents and grandparents still alive. We have children and grandchildren, and we know those family traditions, those family stories, the values, the things that make our family culture unique.
Yes.
And we are in a position to pass those on. And I think that's so important in a world that is increasingly dark and busy, and there's so many voices coming at our children and grandchildren. I think we are in a position to really be a voice of, this is what makes our family unique.
Yeah.
And when children know, and there's been studies done on this, but when they know their family history and the stories, they feel a sense of purpose and they feel connected and they're more resilient.
And as you were describing that, I found myself thinking it takes deliberate intention, because you can be in the role and not seize the role, but what you described does take an intentionality of sorts.
I think it does, because we're all busy and time just goes and our time will fill.
Yeah.
But I think we need to be very intentional and mindful in deciding our priorities, and those of us in this role, some of us have a little more discretionary time. And so we can decide how to use that time and what traditions and what values are important. And I really want to be intentional in this role and in my relationships with my children, my grandchildren. It's a joy.
Oh, I love that you use that word.
It is a joy.
And time does become an asset, right? It becomes a tool that you have and can use toward how you approach and how you take on this role. I love this thought as well. You've said parents are on the front lines, but we can be the backup. Explain that.
Okay. Well, my children and their spouses they're the front lines. They have the main responsibility, stewardship for raising their children. And I never want to put them in an awkward position or make demands that cause friction, or I don't want to burden them.
Yeah.
And their little family unit becomes the most important thing. But at the same time, sometimes they need help, or maybe want help, or just a little respite. And I want to reinforce those good things that my children are doing in their homes. And to provide relief, maybe it's a weekend away, maybe it's taking children for an individual date or a few hours, or just to help instill confidence and belief and love on their kids like crazy.
I have a dear friend just stepping into the Nana role, the grandma role, and she said something so cute and endearing and funny at the same time. She said, I'm learning backup dancers have the best spot on the stage, right? But as you talk about reinforcement or relief, like that's a place you can step up and really fill a needed gap, but do so in a background way.
In a background, I mean, we don't have the main responsibility, and so when they're at my house, I can say yes to everything. I'm okay to let the house fall apart because I know I'm going to have time later to pick up. I'm not feeling all the demands.
This is interesting to me. You say female elephants have taught you something about matriarchs.
Yes.
What is that?
I remember reading years ago about female elephants, and I love them so much. Female elephants are natural leaders and nurturers in their herds, and they instinctively rally around the young and the vulnerable. And when they're traveling, or if there's a predator nearby, the female elephants will form a circle and they'll face out with the younger or vulnerable inside. They will kick dust to shield them. If a mother's having a baby, they'll do the same thing. They'll circle around her. They'll trumpet in glee. They stomp dust to protect the skin of the newborn.
A beautiful visual and metaphor.
I love that, and I love that metaphor, like you said, of circling around the younger, the rising generation, those that are more vulnerable, and protecting them as we can from everything that's coming at them from so many directions.
This time has gone too quickly as I knew it would. About 1 minute left together. I'm curious to know, as you've thought about it, back to that intentionality you hope to pour into the role that you are so passionate about. Is there a legacy, Michelle, that you want to leave as you consider the role and what you want to bring to it?
That's such a good question. I want my children, their spouses, I consider them my children.
I love that.
And their children, my grandchildren, to know that they are loved unconditionally. I just want to love with abandon. And I hope they know those values and those beliefs that I hold dear and that make me who I am, but that I just love them like crazy.
And by knowing,
and always will.
By knowing you, they come to feel that love, and there comes the tradition, right, and the lineage and the legacy that you hope will be passed on, and I know it will through you and through that family. Thank you for sharing a piece of your heart and a piece of your passion. We admire you and we appreciate you.
It's been a joy to be here. Thanks.